Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great Live Roaster Show. It's our final Sunday show in 2020. We're excited to have you join us for today. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. As you can see, we got a full house. We have Joe Samniego, Jessica from Paddock Inside, and Matt White from Great World Motorsport League. And be sure to participate in the chat room. Ask us any questions. We'll do our best to answer them. And we'll start off with the Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is in the books, and so is the 2020 Formula One season. And it definitely was a season to remember for everybody. 17 races since July, the season. Very chaotic season, considering everything they had to do for the pandemic, the on-track racing, the last-minute tracks we saw added, Portugal, Mugello. Phenomenal racing all around. Today's race, pretty stagnant compared to what we've seen the past few weeks. The top three really didn't change all race long. DRS zone was the main passing spot, especially for the midfield. Max Verstappen takes an easy win, and McLaren takes third in the Constructor Championship after Sergio Perez drops out with a mechanical failure, and Lance Stroll only comes home 10th. Jessica, Matt, are you surprised that McLaren responded with a 5th and 6th place finish and took third in the Constructors' Championship?
For me, it's not a big surprise. Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris did a great job this year. Sainz, after his announcement for Ferrari, almost has the obligation to play a great role with this team and creates a great expectation for the 2021 season. And Lando Norris with a podium and his race-to-race work shows that he has a great future and will do a great job with McLaren. The team with Daniel Ricciardo for the next season, I think, is deserved to McLaren these points to the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, great for McLaren to be back up there. You'd have to say Racing Point kind of dropped the ball after their great performance last week with the win for Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll on the podium in for the Sakir Grand Prix. Going into this race, everyone was writing McLaren off, but they did a terrific job yesterday in qualifying and have brought it home today. And as you said, Joe, Perez's retirement, although he did start from the back of the field as well with an engine change penalty. Race Point tonight will be feeling pretty sad about the end of the way their season's actually unravelled and that they've missed out and come fourth in the standings.
Yeah, it seemed to just unravel today. They missed out on the potential. And I really am surprised. I thought after last weekend's win, double podium, Racing Point was just going to come here, be in the top 10, score the points, take it off. That it was not the case. Sergio Perez, tough luck, the reliability, the worst time to happen. Second time in 3 races for Sergio Perez, a mechanical failure. That's something pretty big. Lance Stroll just didn't seem to have the pace, and that last lap pass by Esteban Ocon really sealed the deal. Sergio, of course, going from first last weekend to last this week. Next year, Racing Point will change to Aston Martin. Of course, they're going to have Sebastian Vettel joining Lance Stroll next year. McLaren, they're going to have Mercedes engines in 2021. Will the battle in the midfield between Aston Martin and McLaren next year be the big battle? Or will we see again Renault, this time now Alpine, with Alonso and Ocon battle with those teams?
It will be a nice battle with all of them. Alonso have been very aware of Renault work in 2020 season. It will be a nice fight between them. Sebastian Vettel will want to show that not everything is what happened at Ferrari, and Esteban Ocon is going to observe Fernando Alonso very closely, and it will be a great opportunity to learn from his teammate and really to try to be better than him, and will be a great opportunity for Esteban Ocon. And I will say Alpha Tauri will be too a great team for the 2021 season.
Oh, I think it's going to be a mega battle in the midfield in 2021 between Aston Martin racing F1 team, McLaren, and also the Alpine team with Fernando Alonso returning to F1 and alongside Esteban Ocon. And you did mention, McLaren going to have Mercedes engines, and McLaren's been getting a lot closer to the front, and and now them having the Mercedes power unit, that's going to be huge for them. And also Racing Point, becoming Aston Martin Racing and having Sebastian Vettel in there next year, that's going to be big for them. And with Carlos Sainz moving on to Ferrari, McLaren's going to have Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. I think next season is really going to be looking good for the midfield battle. And early this morning, McLaren announced that a U.S. investor group had bought a share into the organization in order to pour a lot of cash into that program, and so they'll become more competitive in the future. And I think that this investment in the McLaren F1 team is going to be, it's going to be mega. And I do think within the next couple of years, we might see McLaren finally return to the top step of the podium once again.
Yeah, I have to echo what the guys have already said. It's going to be great next season. Let's hope that this midfield can make a step forward as a group towards Red Bull and Mercedes at the front, and we can have the midfield battle at the front of the field where everyone's squabbling for victories, a bit like we saw in Bahrain last week. So yes, I think as touched on, McLaren getting the Mercedes power back is going to be a big thing for them, and this is third place, another cash injection, as Kobe said, and Mercedes power unit. They're going to be the strongest, I feel, of the group that we've mentioned in that midfield.
Definitely, they're looking to be pretty strong next year. Of course, Alonso, he was at the track this weekend, and he was driving that R25, of course, that was so dominant in 2005. Ocon scored points again. Last two race weekends, he seemed more aggressive. That podium finish really helped his confidence in Leclerc. And of course, as we mentioned, Daniel Ricciardo. Today, he went from 12th to 7th place in that Renault. Great effort for him. Was up early, a late stop. Didn't seem the strategy worked out exactly to how he wanted, but still good points for him and that team, which got 3 podiums this year, 2 with Ricciardo and 1 with Ocon. Strong performance by AlphaTauri again. We saw them, of course, they got a win in Monza. We know Daniel Kvyat towards the end of the season, he was looking good. 2021, is AlphaTauri still a back market team, or are they now seen as a proper midfield team with the other midfield teams like McLaren and so on?
Well, definitely going to be a part of that midfield battle. The question still, remains: is Danny Kvyat going to be there next season? It looks unlikely, and we're going to see Formula 2 race winner Yuki Tsunoda step up to that team. So, with his inexperience, they might take a slight step back in that respect. But we know how good Pierre Gasly is, and as you mentioned, his great victory at Monza in the end of the summer was terrific. So yes, but a lot of these teams are going to be not going, I should think, all guns blazing on development for next year, because of course we've got the brand spanking new 2022 cars coming at the end of this rule cycle, which is obviously coming up in a year or so's time.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if AlphaTauri can remain a proper team in the midfield. I'm glad you brought up that point, Matt, because I was just checking some quotes after the race, and Danny Kvyat told the media outlet that he will not be returning to AlphaTauri next year, and that the team told him that they want Yuki Tsunoda for 2021, and that he's looking to maybe take a sabbatical in 2021, and hopefully Danny Kvyat will return to the Formula One grid in 2022. So based on this comments, it's basically a done deal that he will not be returning next year. Won't have an F1 driver, and Yuki Tsunoda is going to slide in and take his place alongside Pierre Gasly.
Big news coming out of Abu Dhabi. Definitely, that's going to be really exciting to see how the AlphaTauri is going to work out next year. And of course, we encourage everyone, for all motorsports news, be sure to follow us on social media with Roll Motorsport. We Paddock Inside with Jessica, Kobe Lambert, and of course, Grid Rankin. Now, Ferrari, they tried a different strategy today as well, similar to Daniel Ricciardo. One stop, just about everyone one stop because of that long pit road, but they stayed out much later. This was Vettel's best race so far. It was running into points. Best race besides Turkey, where his experience, especially with the change of conditions, came in. That pit stop, a good fast pit stop, not one of the slow ones like we saw last week, of 6 seconds. But both Ferrari drivers did not score points. definitely we know next year with the new drivers and some needed upgrades, where do you see this team being, the Ferrari team?
Oh, I think next year is going to be. I actually do believe next year is going to be a little bit better than 2020 for Ferrari, but I don't think it's going to be much better. I think we'll see Ferrari start to return to his usual form in the next couple of years. I mean, 2020, it was just a disaster for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc did everything he could to extract the most out of the car. This season, Sebastian Vettel, he had a few decent runs, but not a lot. It was a real struggle for Sebastian Vettel, and it's gonna be interesting to see what changes Ferrari, the different changes that Ferrari is able to make over the off season, and they're gonna have a fresh lineup. Obviously, Charles Leclerc returning to the team, and Carlos Sainz finally getting his big break to drive for Ferrari.
And yes, they have a lot of work to do, review the pit stuff, and know how to handle the strategies, and give both Sainz and Leclerc a great car. We hope that for everyone and for the show, Ferrari can improve and be fighting at the top with Mercedes and Red Bull. They have a lot to think about in winter to come back with next year so much stronger than 2020 season.
Yeah, they're definitely hoping to come back stronger than what they showed this year. This year, just nothing really going on. Next year, Carlos Sainz, that's going to be a valuable experience, helping out Charles Leclerc, some key upgrades, especially with the engine. If they could do anything really, hopefully they'll be up front a little bit better, putting on, as you mentioned, that's got a better show. Up front, Max Verstappen, he stole the show today. Mercedes didn't have the pace. There was discussion about Mercedes had turned down the car power just a tad for reliability. Next year, Red Bull, they're looking to bring the fight, and they're hoping to see the tracks that they're really good at, like Mexico City, Coda, the other tracks where they are known to win. So hopefully they're going to be stronger next year. Today's race, was that a sign of Red Bull's strength when everything is right, or was it more when Mercedes is not 100%?
I think a bit of both, but we know Red Bull is a great team. Red Bull really took advantage of Mercedes' weakness this weekend. Both the return of Lewis Hamilton after recovering from COVID-19, the disasters last weekend due to unusual mistakes by a team like Mercedes or Red Bull did the job, and they have to do so. I think it was a lot of circumstances to Red Bull to win the race today.
Yeah, as Jess said, all kinds of things going on at Mercedes. We didn't know until Thursday if Lewis was going to be back or not after missing last week. And he obviously wasn't 100%. He said that yesterday after qualifying. And you mentioned, Joe, they've had a few reliability niggles over the last few races, so they had to turn the engines down. Great job by Red Bull. All they did was, they won the race. The second car wasn't particularly fast again, and that's, I'm sure, more discussion that will happen between now and Christmas. Helmut Marko said that before Christmas we'll know if Alexander Albon or Sergio Perez is in that second car at Red Bull for next year. So keep an eye on the socials for that over the next couple of weeks. But they could only beat what was in front of them. Mercedes weren't on form today, and we saw Albon coming at them at the end, but ran out of laps and speed. So, yeah, I think it's still going to be those two at the top for next season. It will be closer because I'm sure Mercedes will be putting some focus towards the new rule set quite early on. They know how good this car is, so not too much more they can probably get out of it, and they'll be focusing on the 22 reg.
I'm glad you brought up the second Red Bull car, Matt, because I had some news coming out of the paddock. Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal reports on some rumors saying that Sergio Perez potentially joining Red Bull next year is closer than ever before, but not close yet. And it's looking like that Sergio Perez might be going to Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen next year, although it's not a done deal. And also I believe Ted Kravitz said the same thing, that looks like Perez is going to be in and Alex Albon is going to be out. Yeah. And to answer your question, today's it was a really good day for Red Bull, and when everything is right, they can beat Mercedes when they're not at full strength.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it was a good day for Red Bull. Full strength. It's going to be really interesting to see, and definitely will be following the news, especially from that breaking news from Adam Stern about Red Bull next year. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, he is the big talk of the year, and definitely I know we have Matt White here to discuss some of the Grid World Motorsport League.
Yes, the 2020 World Motorsport League has come to a close this afternoon with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and that was the final scoring race. We had two this weekend, that one, and the Intercontinental GT Challenge race, the Kyalami 9 Hours, which was yesterday afternoon, won by BMW. Even in 2020, with the global shutdown and huge delays in shuffling the calendars, our scoring championships, we've had well over 1,000 drivers and riders from the bike world score points over the 368 scoring races in the Grid World Motorsport League this season. And we've also had a miscalculation because Lewis Hamilton's third place this afternoon wasn't enough for him to win. Let me just bring up the spreadsheet. He misses out by 0.01 of a point to Phil Hansen, that close, down to 2 decimal places. So the calculation was wrong because he missed last week at the second Bahrain race. It threw the calculations out. So the spreadsheet doesn't lie. And Phil Hansen has reclaimed the top spot in the table. He was in the lead for most of the summer and spring, most of the summer and fall, sorry. Had a 9-week period where he was the leader, and he'll go back to the top in the very final weekend without even turning the steering wheel because Lewis didn't finish in the top 2. So it turns out. So Phil Hansen is our 2020 champion. He doesn't beat the record of last year. Kazuki Nakajima, last year's winner, finished on 22 out of a possible 25. So he misses out on taking the top score ever by 0.7 of a point. We'll see if he or anyone else can take that crown away next year. Lewis Hamilton led on 2 separate occasions. He was 8 weeks leader, and we'll lose that, as I say, for the very final round over the European Le Mans Series and World Endurance Championship P2 champion Phil Hansen alongside Philippe Albuquerque for United Autosports as well. Some other notables. Michał Brzezinski, the Polish gentleman driver, he finished 4th in the standings because he was the highest finishing non-champion, shall I say, because in the European Le Mans Series, the GT class finished tied. They were all tied up on points, but he lost it out on the championship on countback, and because the other drivers in the other Porsche raced in the WEC and didn't get such a good result, he ends up 4th. The highest placed non-winners also came from the World Endurance Championship. Anthony Davidson and his teammate Roberto Gonzalez finished 46th overall, 2 second places and a 3rd, their best results of the year. The lowest placed champion in our score was Sheldon Creed, the NASCAR Truck Series champion. He ended 174th place on 8.57. He was only 0.02 points behind the Cup Series champion, Chase Elliott, and I think there was one person in between them as well, so it was very close in that part of the field. Kazuki Nakajima won last year, but he only started 4 World Endurance Championship races in the calendar year of 2020, so unfortunately he doesn't score this year. Moving into next year, we've got some changes. I can announce a couple of those now. The minimum starts goes down from 5 to 3, so it gives some people that only do the sort of the odd endurance races, like we see in IMSA with the notables at Daytona and Petit Le Mans and things like that. The 4th drivers, they'll get a chance to score as long as that's all they do, because it'll be a free race minimum. The W Series will be coming to the scoring next year and replaces DTM, which drops out with their new rule set coming in. We've decided to drop the DTM from the 2021 mix, and the 1st of March 2021 we will see the first leaderboard, the first top 10 will be out on the 1st of March next year. A couple of other things that one thing we can announce right now, and one thing we'll be announcing soon. On Tuesdays, on grid_WML on Twitter, we'll be announcing our star of the weekend, our performer of the weekend will be announced on a Tuesday. And on Wednesdays, a very special thing coming at you. Classic races from the Vault. The Grid World Motorsport League video vault has been something that we've been working on all summer, and it's almost complete. And a random spin will decide what classic race we can post up on a Wednesday for everybody to enjoy, especially as we get going in the season through January and February. And into the end of the year. So, guys, one question for you. Who would you like to know where they finished? I'll give one of you a person each, and I can tell you where they finished and what they scored. Start with you, Joe.
All right. I'm curious as to where Miguel Oliveira finished this year. I know he had 2 years.
Punch his name in, and we'll see where Miguel finished. He finishes in 217th place on 7.57. Sorry, just underneath Martin Truex Jr.
Oh wow,
Kobe.
For our NASCAR crowd out there, how about 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion Chase Elliott?
Chase was, as I said, he was just above Sheldon Creed, so he finishes 171st with 8.58 his score. And Jess?
I will say from MotoGP, Franco Morbidelli.
Franco, let's have a look and see where Frankie finished. His World Rally Championship event didn't count last week, so that would have knocked him down. But he finishes 126 on exactly 10 points, the same as Thierry Neuville from WRC. So that's how the Grid World Motorsport League finished up, and we'll be posting the top 10 official later on this afternoon. And then, as I mentioned on Twitter yesterday, the top 100 are all going to be posted throughout the next coming weeks. Between now and Christmas, you'll get a tweet for every single person in the top 100 and how they did.
Wonderful stuff. Definitely encourage everyone to visit Grid World Motorsport League. And now definitely one of the big drivers we've been talking about all year, Lewis Hamilton.
That's right, because Lewis Hamilton had the 2020 year to remember: 7 World Championship, 2 tie Schumacher, most wins, receive Schumacher helmet from Mick, Mercedes 7 Constructors Championship, and Iraqi World Championship, Grid World Motorsport League World Champion. Lewis Hamilton, best driver in the world. What stands out the most in 2020, Matt?
Well, I mean, the wins obviously is the first thing. He came through the field at Turkey when it didn't look like it was going his way. The car has obviously been superb, but he's blown his teammate away. I mean, Valtteri Bottas only finished 9 points ahead of Max Verstappen in the F1 standings at the end of the year with Max's win today. Absolute cut above, and yeah, goes to 7 championships as you mentioned. Surely he's going to win another one next year if he signs, of course, because he's still not signed for next year officially. We haven't heard any official news on that. Him and Toto will have out contracts at the end of the year, so interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, definitely goes into the greatest of all time category in Formula One with the other legends, Schumachers, the Sennas, the Stewarts, the Clarks, those kind of guys. What an amazing season he's had in that amazing car, with all the other things he's been doing off track as well.
Yeah, definitely. Lewis Hamilton will go down in the history books as one of the greatest motor racing drivers to ever exist. And you did bring up a good point, Matt, about all of the stuff that he's done. Not only on the track but off the track as well. He stood up to social injustices all around the world. He put himself in a very vulnerable position. Lewis spoke his mind. He stood up for people who have been oppressed, and he got attacked for it. Just like Bubba Wallace did here in the United States. And Lewis Hamilton he's definitely always been a leader all around the world, and people have looked up to him and his leadership. And while Lewis will go down in history as one of the greatest racing drivers in history, I also think he's also one of the most influential figures in the racing world too. And looking at some comments from Lewis this weekend, while I do think that he still has a lot he's going to accomplish in his racing career, it's going to be interesting to see if he can recover from COVID-19. Because after the race, Lewis said, I quote, that I'm destroyed because he's not 100% yet after testing positive for the virus in Bahrain. Lewis has been experiencing a lot of fatigue, and it seems like the race today and just the weekend in general has been a huge struggle. And he said that COVID is no joke. He knows that it's serious, and he also said he found it very strange when he see world leaders laughing it off like it's nothing. And when Lewis experienced it firsthand himself, and he knows how serious it is, and we're just gonna wish Lewis a speedy recovery. Hopefully, by the time we get to Melbourne in the springtime, Lewis will be 100% and ready to go win another championship.
And yes, he's definitely currently the best driver, and showing he despite certain problems, he's very consistent and very strong in all the races. He keeps breaking records, and he was clearly the 2020 Rider of the Year. So Hamilton has a lot to do. He's the best driver now, and he has a lot of pressure of that, but everybody knows how is Lewis Hamilton now in the Formula One in for the world. Now there will be the third Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton, 2020, just went out there dominant. I felt early on, especially in Austria, it looked like signs that maybe Mercedes didn't have 100%. Silverstone, when clearly we saw Mercedes, the tire wear issues become an issue for both times, Lewis Hamilton was able to limp that across. I felt this year Lewis really showed that, yes, the Mercedes is a really good, fast car, but his skills is just on another level where he could take care of the tires, make it last all race long. Turkey, where he claimed his championship, the changing conditions, starting back, working his way to the front and just taking care of those tires, those intermediate tires were essentially near slicks at the end. He brought that home in the championship ever, and Lewis definitely exceeded, I think, a lot of expectations. Everyone anticipated him to get a world championship. That's always a norm, but just the amount of effort he put in or race out, it was just amazing comparing him to Bottas. You could see the result, and without a doubt, Lewis is the best.
That's right. 11 wins, luego 16 races, 14 podiums, 10 poles. Lewis Hamilton is always one of the best racers in the world. This year really demonstrated that no doubt he is the best. Hopeful for a full recovery seeing him in the 2021 season.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to the 2021 season. And however, with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in the books, this is the official end of the 2020 racing season. And also, since we're getting towards the end of our program, it's time for the Grid One Shining Moment. Looking back at the entire motorsport season as a whole, what was your Grid One Shining Moment in 2020 that you'll remember forever?
And I think I have a lot of memory for this season, but I have Lando Norris podium, yes, Pierre Gasly victory, Russell Stein at the top with Mercedes, and Lewis Hamilton championship. It was a very difficult, but a very beautiful this time for this situation. It was a great season.
Big points that you bring out there. Definitely the racing response to racism will stand out, especially Bubba Wallace, Lewis Hamilton. The pandemic, just seeing how all the series changed to get the racing season done, that really is going to stand out. And then some of the big finishes, Austria, Miguel Oliveira again, that first one, that last lap pass, that's always going to stand out. Lewis Hamilton's effort at the Turkish Grand Prix, Mugello, that race was just so crazy. That's something we'll never forget. Then, of course, all across, whether it was IndyCar, Scott Dixon, everywhere, a lot of memories stands out. Definitely for me, overall, one of the biggest ones I got to also say is a big thank you to all you guys for being part of the Grid Network this year. We started it up during the pandemic. So grateful to be with all of you on the air today, and definitely that's one shining moment as well for me.
Couple from me. Some mentioned already. Miguel Oliveira's win at the Red Bull Ring in the summer was just outstanding. NASCAR's response to the pandemic and that first race back at Darlington just felt special. There was something in the air that was something huge. Lewis winning the championship, great. Shane Van Gisbergen finally breaking through and winning at Bathurst for me was great. We saw NASCAR running in the rain, although kind of ish at the Roval after it stopped the downpour. Some fabulous races around the world in all of the all of the championships that we cover between both sides, or all four of us really, on all the bits and pieces that we do. 2021 is going to be great. I'm looking forward to Formula E coming back after their massively long break. That's going to be the first real live action we get to see in January, and then it's on to the Rolex, which is always a great race at Daytona in January as well.
And for me, I'm going to look at the entire motorsport season in general, because I remember back in March with the virus, when the World Health Organization declared it a global pandemic. And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't really know what that meant. I knew what a pandemic was, but that was only something that I talked about in school in my 8th grade English class. And to see us, living through a pandemic, it was, really mind blowing and shocking, because I never thought that would be something that we'd live through in our lifetimes. And the biggest thing for me, when I remember NASCAR got down to Atlanta and it looks like we were going racing, then we got word that somebody who worked at Atlanta Motor Speedway tested positive, and then they shut down the whole thing, and NASCAR ended up suspending the season. Looked like IndyCar was going to race on the streets of St. Pete, which is a typical season opener. That didn't happen. St. Pete got canceled and placed at the very end of the IndyCar season. And Formula One, we were going to race in Australia until some members of the McLaren team had tested positive, and then they shut that down. And then an IMSA driver who was competing who was supposed to be competing in 12 hours of Sebring, he was very vocal on Twitter saying that we should not race. This is a deadly virus, and people made fun of him. Then IMSA eventually ended up canceling the 12 hours of Sebring, postponing it to the very end of the season. And I think my great one shining moment is like, wow, we made it, guys. We made it to the end of the 2021. The 2020 racing season. Got a little ahead of myself there. Yeah, but it's just so amazing that all of the major racing series were able to make it to the end of 2020, because I'll be honest, when the things started shutting down, I didn't really think that we'd see any more racing in 2020. So just to make it to the finish line, I think everybody involved in all racing series worldwide, they deserve a pat on the back. And now it's time for a lie down until the start of the 2021 racing season.
That's right, and this is the last Sunday show of Real Life Post Race. Wednesday, we tonight will be on there in the 6:30 Eastern. Thursday, Grid Girls, the woman racing to win. Saturday, Real Life News, New Esther, and we encourage everyone to follow Grid World Motorsport League in Twitter. We have Grid WML Kobe at the Podium Finish.net. Subscribe to Green Network on YouTube, subscribe to Paddock Insight, and follow on Twitter like Paddock Insight. And thank you to our support, to Pau Bless. Click on the link below to save the 10% of any purchase made. Special thanks to Polly for our Patreon. And be sure to visit Patreon page and continue supporting us. Comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For Matt, Kobe, Joy, and Jessica Araujo, thank you for watching and enjoying all the races this year with us.
Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Pawbliss. Pawbliss is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. So definitely check out pawbliss.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.